There's a certain kind of person who lies awake long after everyone else has gone to sleep. Not because something terrible happened, not because they're afraid, but because their mind simply won't close the file. They replay the conversation from this afternoon. They rehearse the one they might have tomorrow. They examine a single word someone said and wonder what it really meant. And here's the strange part. These are often the most perceptive, the most caring, the most self-aware people in any room. Yet they are also, quietly, among the most worn down. That contradiction is what we're going to explore today. Here's what psychology actually tells us about people like this. The same mental machinery that makes them thoughtful, the part that notices subtlety, reads a room, anticipates consequences, is the exact same machinery running when they can't stop. There is no switch between perceptive and stuck. It is one system, which means the goal was never to become someone who thinks less. The goal is to understand what the mind is doing and why it learned to do it in the first place. Researchers call this pattern perseverative cognition, a tendency for the mind to return to the same thought, the same scenario, the same unresolved moment over and over. Studies from the University of Toronto and Oxford's Department of Experimental Psychology have found that this isn't random mental noise. It is driven by two specific brain systems working in overdrive. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning, self-monitoring, and social prediction, stays unusually active in these individuals, even at rest. Meanwhile, the brain's default mode network, which handles internal narrative and self-referential thought, keeps generating story. The result is a mind that is always composing, always drafting, always running scenarios that haven't happened yet. For many of these people, this pattern did not begin in adulthood. It began much earlier, in environments where calm was unpredictable, where the atmosphere in a room could shift without explanation, where getting something wrong had consequences that felt larger than they should have. In those conditions, a young mind learns the most rational thing it can. It gets ahead of things. It watches. It prepares. If you can feel what's coming before it arrives, maybe you can soften it. Overthinking, in this context, was never a malfunction. It was a form of intelligence that kept someone safe. The mind simply never received the signal that the danger had passed. Not all of this looks the same. Psychologists draw a distinction between two modes. The first is analytical rumination, where the person is genuinely working something through, building understanding, trying to make meaning. This version, when it doesn't overstay its welcome, is a real cognitive strength. It is linked to deeper empathy and more nuanced decision-making. The second is circular rumination, where the mind keeps returning to a problem not to resolve it, but because it doesn't know how to let it go. What makes this so disorienting is that both feel identical from the inside. Both feel like progress. Cognitive scientists call this the processing illusion. The brain is active, so it reads as productive, even when it is simply looping. There's a neurochemical reason this is so hard to stop. When the brain engages in problem solving, even imagined problem solving, it releases small amounts of dopamine, not for solving the problem, for the act of engaging with it. So the overthinker is, in a very real sense, being biochemically rewarded for continuing to think. Telling someone to simply stop is like asking them to ignore a reward signal their brain is actively producing. Beyond that, a 2019 study in the journal Cognition found that people who score highest on trait rumination also demonstrate significantly greater accuracy in reading other people's emotional states. The very engine generating the exhaustion is the same engine generating the compassion. They are not two different things. So what do you actually do with this? Therapists who specialize in this area rarely focus on stopping the thoughts. Instead, they focus on changing the relationship to them. One approach that consistently shows results is a technique from acceptance-based therapy called diffusion, the practice of noticing a thought rather than becoming it. Instead of, "this is a problem I have to solve right now," the shift becomes, "my mind is generating a concern." It sounds like a small change, but that small change creates distance, and distance creates choice. Because the real issue for most overthinkers isn't the thinking itself, it is the belief that the thinking is necessary, that if they stop, something will go wrong, that the vigilance is the only thing holding things together. It isn't. The mind that learned to stay alert in uncertain times is the same mind that now notices everything beautiful, reads every room, and loves with an unusual depth. It was never broken. It was just never shown that it could rest.